can I get 2 people that really care about kids in our community? 2 people. Okay, so how about you? And how about the Nutty Snacks girl? I'm sorry. Yes, both of you. Yeah. Here. So. All right.
Back to the microphone.
So, first of all, I just want to thank you both for caring about kids, and second of all, I just want to give you a high five. Woo woo. That's my icebreaker.
Nice.
And then each one of you gets to get a free entree at Qdoba in Southdale.
Wow,
All right.
thanks.
Yeah. What's that?
Yeah.
One more volunteer. Come on.
I'm walking away.
I just given you a high five. Yeah. And a Qdoba. Oh, hold on.
That's it? You don't want anything else?
That's it.
Any more questions you want to ask?
No, there's a Qdoba for you too. So generosity is important, and our youth are important. One of the things that I took it upon myself to do was build programs and teach over the years. I've worked in a myriad of design environments. I ran a graphic design studio as my first business. I then went to work for an architecture firm where I was excited and encouraged about architecture and design. And I then went to build a second business. Youth Directions is my third business in the past 24 years. I'm excited about it. It's an important piece to the puzzle of how we take kids and encourage them on their paths in life. I've taken 20 years worth of experience in entrepreneurship and also in teaching and given kids some structure around filling through their future. Young Builders and Designers. Young Builders and Designers is one of the 2 programs that we run where we teach kids about the design, develop, build process. The model shown is a model of the Washburn Water Tower, which is located in South Minneapolis in a neighborhood that I grew up in, Tangletown. It's, if you've ever seen the original one, it's stone with knights and eagles on top. And this project was an amazing project to do with the kids. It featured an engineer, a landscape architect, other architectural professionals. We incorporate historians. And all of this was done in an afternoon workshop with kids at a park in South Minneapolis. The finished product is currently still being displayed. It's actually at Washburn Library right now, but it was at Hosmer Library. And these activities incorporate all these components of design and history and architecture in a way that kids are engaged and involved. We have a partnership with the University of Minnesota's Design School, one of their professors, and also at the Lego store at the Mall of America. It took me years to build those partnerships. That's a 4-foot mosaic of the American Institute's logo out of Lego parts that was displayed at their convention this year. And then we built the word fatherhood at an event. Everybody got to come and build that fatherhood out of different construction toys. So it's career exploration, design, all the above. That's the dean at the University of Minnesota, or a former dean, and an amazing professional architect, a fellow next to him from Brooklyn. So every year we participate in a diversity and design workshop at the University of Minnesota. Our other program is a youth entrepreneurship program where we teach kids about running a small business. This is our sales club, where the kids learned about business in 10 points of business in doing sales. We do skill sets with development, so they actually got manicure kits and they were learning about how to present themselves. This was them at the Midtown Global Market. I designed the logo, the t-shirts, and then they got to learn about a business plan and development, and then they actually went on site and sold. They were, the girl on the right was the most successful that day. She won all the prizes. She literally took all the initiative. So what does all this mean? What this means is we do have a plan for replication. We do have a plan for curriculum development, so we can hand this off to school systems, to nonprofits, to other partners. We do have a plan to go national, but we need to really get solid here in the Twin Cities to begin with. I'm looking for advisors, partners, funders, individuals who are interested in programs like this. This is my third business. I'm not new at the business development process. We're just a couple years in, and our revenues this year, we're looking at probably profit of $10,000. But it's been a few years, 2 years probably, and at this end of the stage, and we've got an advisory board of entrepreneurs and other professionals and other design professionals, architects who are all helping guide. That's my time. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
I could have gone for like 20 minutes. Okay, yeah, sure.
So, yeah, once again, we have a good preparation for the question we always ask for how we can help out Brian here with his business launch. It's a great success that you have your graphic design background, that you can help do the branding and get that right up front. I think that's a neat idea. So let me bring the microphone around to questions.
So are you starting this off as a business, or are you forming as a 501c3? I'm just...
So that's what we're kind of in the advisory phase of. I have had a fiscal sponsor that's allowed us to get in some doorways as a 501c3, but through consultancy, a lot of business professionals have suggested that I should partner with nonprofits in doing this work rather than being a nonprofit, and then we're able to take, and do the curriculum development and do the business end of the process rather than filing as a 501c3. So right now at this point, I'm doing my work as a consultant and seeking to develop that business structure as effectively as possible.
Okay.
Are you trying to say that the way you're doing things would somehow be illegal if you were 501c3?
No.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out, because it really seems like a nonprofit business, and it seems odd.
Again, we're exploring that. So, the reality is sitting down and figuring out, how, if we're going to be a 501c3, how do we raise money? Because one of the challenges that we've had is raising money. We're in a tough marketplace for nonprofit right now. In the past 5 years, the past 10 years, nonprofits have failed at huge rates. So do we jump into that pool and end up just in the mix of the piranhas, or do we establish something solid and then partner with those environments to provide consultancy and programming and materials for them?
I guess maybe it's just me being upset with the idea that I think you should be able to do all that and still be nonprofit. I'm not understanding. Like what is preventing you, or what would be the problem with doing what you're trying to do, but still?
All I'm saying is we're exploring that. That's all I'm saying. We're exploring that.
I will tell you, the reason that you want to not be a nonprofit is it opens up the aperture to all sorts of investments and opportunities that as a nonprofit, you put yourself into a niche. You can always turn the table and not be.
And that's what I'm asking, though. Nothing that what you're saying to me sounds like something that should necessitate that kind of thing. What kind of, is there some sort of legal hitch here that would open you to gaining funding and all that by not being nonprofit? What is it? I don't know.
I guess I'm not understanding your question.
When you think about investors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Brian is going to go out and ask for money.
Okay, I'm getting it. It clicked.
If I'm gonna give Brian money, typically it's not out of the business of my car. I'm gonna say, what are my returns? What are
Okay.
my multiples? Are you gonna grow to a $100 million company? In 5 years?
It clicked. I get it.
Yeah, so thank you for answering that question more eloquently. Yes, you know, I need to seek people who will support this work. The value is intrinsic. You know, I mean, we're at a point where our young builders and designers, we're losing laborers day after day after day after day. The one thing I get when I talk to all the labor pool, the volunteers that come to us from the construction industry, from the engineering industry, from the design, those building design aspects, everyone says we're losing our skilled laborers. So giving kids the opportunity to look at these options and opportunities is invaluable. So there is a social entrepreneurship component to what we do intrinsically in training kids in career-oriented environments where they don't have to spend $100,000, $200,000 on an education. So those are the other, I didn't even get to that aspect of it, but yes, I'm looking at it from a business capacity. How can I create this opportunity? And then do things like curriculum development where that can get sold across the country and even, you know, in other languages. I'm sorry.
Hi.
Oh, the microphone.
Firstly, Brian, kudos. This is really inspirational
Thank
and
you.
so vital
Thank you.
and vitalizing. I last week just saw the film Beyond Measure, that documentary that is looking at across our nation, you know, transforming education so that it's actually enlivening and meaningful and relevant and hands-on and practical and visionary and, you know, everything that you've got going here. I thought I heard you mention the designer and builder program as one program, and I was anticipating you were going to say about more programs. So I don't know if I just
So there's two main programs. There's the Young Builders and Designers program, which we teach kids about design, develop, build. Everything from architecture to graphic design to interior design. We do fun stuff like we've made flags. We handmade kites. Right here. We actually right at this park across the street for the Flint Hills International Children's Festival Art Moves Parade. I had kids out there with handmade kites that they made, you know, just old school dowel rods, and I mean, nobody builds anything anymore, you know? So those kids had so much fun. So that's one of the programs, and we just incorporate all that into that program. And then we do a youth entrepreneurship program, and that's where we teach kids about entrepreneurship. We do 10 points of business, and I go in and I teach them skills. So when they're finished with the program, they actually have a business plan for their business idea, and they've developed skills throughout that program. Practical skills, public speaking, customer service, sales. I mean, stuff that each one of them can use later in life, irregardless as to whether they're inner city kids, suburban kids, or whatever. So that was the other platform, was we were trying to create opportunities for kids across the board, you know, from whether they're in lower income environments or upper income environments. So those are the programs. Then we also do a career readiness piece where we do a career and entrepreneurship fair, and then we do a sales club.
I was just curious. Oh, first off, this is awesome, and I think it's a really great project.
Thank you.
I was just curious if you've partnered with educators or teachers to really look at state standards, because as a former educator myself, I would love to implement something like this in a classroom. However, especially working in the inner city, it's extremely difficult if it doesn't align with state standards, especially for funding going forward. So just wondering if you've explored those avenues.
So one advisor that I've talked to, and really in my advisory team, I'm doing my best to incorporate more and more educators so that we can provide this opportunity as formalized as possible so that we can integrate. One of the challenges is we're up against a lot of really old school curriculums and programs that have been in place that unfortunately are not, I have to be honest, you know, their standards aren't being met, you know? So what we have to do is we create a higher quality product, and then we integrate. So those are the types of advisors that we're really looking for to get involved on an advisory standpoint so that we can implement in a way that's going to really kind of knock the socks off of the school systems. But yes, that's exactly where we're gravitating. I'm sorry.
Just a heads up, a couple of tools that might be helpful as you're teaching business to kids, and I apologize if you're already aware of this, but about 8 years ago, there started in Silicon Valley being this major shift in how they discuss entrepreneurship that was sparked by, I'm going to say his name wrong, Alex Osterwalder's
Okay.
book called The Business Model Canvas, which is a visual way of laying out who are your key customers, what are your key activities, what are your revenue sources. Phenomenal for anyone, but I would think that would be especially helpful for kids. And then the next one, and so like in the more like up-to-date entrepreneurship communities, that is the vocabulary that's used now. People say, what are your key resources? And
Yeah.
that means a specific thing. And then also Steve Blank wrote a book called The Startup Owner's Manual that basically shows how to apply the scientific process to your business so that by the time you get to the point that you're spending a decent amount of money, you have already identified your business hypotheses and validated all of them and made whatever pivots you needed to along the way. So that, I mean, if these kids at this age could learn that process and get that down, oh my gosh, rather
Yeah.
than just writing a regular business plan, which has a lot of validated assumptions in it, if they could have that skill set, watch out world. And then at that point, you give like primary funding opportunities to the people who've been supporting the program. Like donate to my program, you get to be one of the first people to invest in these kids who are like 18-year-old wonder entrepreneurs.
So just to thank you for those resources and those ideas. Since I didn't write them down, if I could get them from you before we go, I wanted to say that one of the things I didn't get to touch on is in our entrepreneurship program, it's a competition. So each kid builds their own business plan, but at the end, they present it to a team of entrepreneurs. And the entrepreneurs come in and they chip in financially on supporting a prize for the kids. So that's our model. Our model is to create a prize. And the cool thing is, I decided, after working with lots of kids, that the prize would actually be, they have to write a budget of what they would spend the money on. And then we purchase the supplies, and their win is the supplies rather than the money. And it's just a smart way of working with kids. But we have implemented a component to kind of pull them to that next level, apply them, get them engaged, get them involved, and then, but yes, I totally appreciate those resources, and I'd love to implement some other ideas on what can make them more successful. I did get from Success Magazine. Is anybody familiar with Success Magazine? They actually gave us a curriculum for teenagers called Success for Teens. So I'm going to be doing some Success for Teens programs too.
Sorry if you've been over this and I missed it. What kind of partnerships are you looking for?
So, the partnerships are businesses who are interested, individual investors, everywhere across the board. I want this in schools. I want this in park boards. We do have a partnership with the Minneapolis Park Board for this year. So all summer long, we're going to be doing programming. I just want to develop that partnership base. A lot of businesses love this work, and you don't have to be a nonprofit to invest in another business, you don't have to be. So people can get advertising, opportunities out of this. As we do our big competitions, they're just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and we're going to do a quarterly one, and then we'll do, scale it down. The 40 people that participated will get to participate in the next one, and it'll be tons of opportunities for advertising and, so those are the types of partners that I want.
I had a couple questions. One is, so you said you had $10,000 revenue this year. Sort of where did that come from? And I apologize if you addressed that already. And then also, it seems like you said inner city youth. I think from what you're saying, there's a lot of tendrils out there in this. If you would focus that down and decide, say, this is our demographic, this kid from maybe this household, maybe you want to diversify, but if you're talking about really seeking this give back kind of aspect, there's a lot of those kids that are going to come. If you're charging the parents, I don't know how this works in terms of kids coming in, do they pay? Because there's a lot of entrepreneurship programs for youth that it's a big upfront expense. There's $700, and there's there's one you can do where you get partnership from Best Buy, and they pay for half of the kid's scholarship, but then there's a $700 piece from the family.
Right.
Or you can get sponsorship from other places possibly. But some of these, the more quality, it's going to take, bringing in speakers, bringing in people that are industry specific if you're really going to get into creating businesses that might work. And there seems to be a lot of different things out there for youth. So if you're saying like inner city, kind of that sounds great, appealing to, kind of helping kids that might be struggling, but a lot of inner city kids are going to come from enriched environments. So are you going for that kid that, are you competing with summer camps, like a science museum summer camp, or are you looking to really get a niche where you're going to say, I'm going to target that kid that's being missed in school, that's not getting enriched, and we're going to show that kid that he has value and he can create something. Whereas there might be kids coming in that, they're kind of the precocious and they've got a lot of enriched background. So I guess revenue, how did you get revenue so far? And from what you've said, it seems like you need to focus more on one avenue and maybe go after one demographic, or know who is your customer, who is the kid that's coming, and how does, as a parent, how do I say to my kid, we're going to do this, honey, we're going to do this, and she says, well, what's the cost? What is it?
Okay.
So
First of all,
I know it's a lot, but it's just a lot of thoughts.
Can I ask you what your background is?
I used to be a teacher, so for
Okay.
15 years I was a teacher
And where did you teach at?
in St. Paul schools.
So in
public
the
schools.
public school system?
Yep.
So two things. One, I think that's why we're veering away from nonprofit. I'm not trying to. There is a social change demographic, and so when I go into the Minneapolis Park Board, when I go into the Minneapolis Public Schools, if I go into St. Paul Public Schools, I'm able to impact that demographic. But I think the reality is the target market is youth in a certain age group. It's not income group. So what we're going to do is we're going to leverage the kids who can afford to come to the program to help supplement even potentially the kids who can't afford to come to the program. So we're more targeting an age demographic than we're targeting an income demographic. And we're pricing our programs accordingly and partnering with environments accordingly. So if I was to be able to go into the Edina public school system or Bloomington public school system, or even in nicer neighborhoods in Minneapolis, I'll be able to provide the program at a different cost than I would be. And maybe part of the marketing is saying, for your participation in this program, 10% will go to help offset cost for the program to be delivered in an inner city environment. And then by them purchasing that program or participating in that program, they'd help support it in other environments. But we're really trying to create a business model that's going to be effective across the board, not just in not with one group of kids. Because the reality is, entrepreneurship, small businesses are struggling across the board in the United States. So training is inevitable, or training is important to impacting that future of entrepreneurship in America. So I'm trying to add to the training of entrepreneurs in America in that capacity.
I just want to say that I keep thinking about how this can break a cycle in a person's life, in a young person's life, whether they're in a enriched family or a family that is exposure or not. That particular person may not have gotten that opportunity to have the bright light that this kind of a program could provide. And I think especially with inner city families where there's not much money, having this kind of an opportunity is just phenomenal. And I know it's been out there, so it's a matter of doing it well. I just think, cool, good for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Christy Hemmer, and I'll contact you later because I've been an educator for 25 years, pre-K through college around the world. But the Minnesota Cup is offering a youth division this year, 18 and younger, and the applications start in March and end in May. So if you have youth right now, that might be a good way and to partner with them.
Well, and that's actually Minnesota Cup was one of my next, partnerships I'm trying to develop.
I was actually on the youth committee to help develop this or
Okay.
help, brainstorm it, so I can, connect you with as well. But we had a couple meetings and, of course, JA and DECA and all those other ones. So I really love your idea at working as a
Those are my competitors.
Oh, no, those are your partners.
Oh, well, yeah, there you go.
And that's where, I'm a for-profit that partners with nonprofits. So
No.
I love the idea of that partnership. One of my students, her big question is, she's 18, and her big question is, how do we get nonprofits to work together?
Yeah.
So, how to get nonprofits to work together.
And
she's 18.
And that is a good vantage point. one of the challenges that I see is there's been years and years of programming taking place, but the progress isn't being made, particularly here in Minnesota. If anybody knows, I know, but Minnesota is one of the least educated minority communities with comparison to the European American population in the entire United States. Yeah. Second from the bottom, and here we are. And so I'm trying to implement programs that will work across the board, you know, so I'm trying to leverage that kids who could afford to come with the kids who couldn't afford to come.
As well as like my friend Josh Thelman, he started Save Our Schools, and he works with schools on how to get grants for programs like yours. So,
Okay.
and
And-
he's in Google Entrepreneurs, and now he's, you know, a young man who's really doing well. So
And that's a
I'll contact
perfect,
you separately.
perfect type of partnerships for us. Perfect.
I applaud you as well. You know, our education system is fairly well known to train employees, and yet you know, entrepreneurship is going to be a much more important part of our economy in the future. So I really appreciate what you're doing. I'm wondering if you are creating an academic achievement record, or as part of this component to relate what the kids are doing to how it might be relating to their academic achievement later on, for instance. I mean, as a component, a systematic component to the program.
Right.
And are you working with DECA, for instance?
Again, we're still developing our partnerships. You know, I mean, it's taken years. I mean, you have no idea how long it took me to get into some of these environments. I mean, I'm talking 10 years, you know, just through personal relationship building and time and energy. The one of the biggest challenges is in this, the educators in the room know that to do anything in education, it takes years. I mean, you're not talking about 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. This is like a lifetime commitment to building this type of program, because just tearing the walls down and getting people to see the importance, even though the numbers are there, it's just like a lifetime achievement. So yes, I'm excited and encouraged to be able to find partnerships all the way across the board in those arenas. But it's time and energy and resources and more partnerships and funding. I mean, you know, it's the bottom line to any business model is where's the money? You know, so I had to rethink, because for many years I was doing volunteer work for a long time. I was just going into the Boys and Girls Club. I have a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, and I deliver a program there. And I just walk in and volunteer, you know, and I'd be beating the pavement for T-shirts for the kids, for this, for that, for the other. And after a while, my consultants were like, you can't do that. You can't, you know, you got to go home and there's got to be food in the refrigerator. So I had to develop a model that was successful. And the model that we're developing now, I feel, is more successful, and partnering with nonprofits where they might go out and get the grant, and they don't have to hire, you know. The other challenge is we're developing, or not challenge, the other pro is that we're developing expertise. I still have volunteers. I still have volunteer entrepreneurs. I still have, you know, and so what ends up happening is we're developing a model that can partner with the nonprofits. The nonprofits can apply for the grants, bring us in, and then they don't have to house a program that may or may not work, that may work for a period of time. They can have a tried and true program that's established over years so that they can then deliver a quality program. So that's what we're looking at. And then there's a multi-level. I got businesses who have said to me, why don't you come do it at my business? Why don't you come host it on Thursday after we shut down? We'll just open up and we'll have kids come and we'll just do a program for 5 weeks. So that's another option. And then maybe they would do half the cost and then the kids would pay half. So we make it affordable. And I'm not talking about $700. I'm talking about, like, you know, $100 or, you know, per kid or something like that.
And will you be incorporating a way to track achievement, how it might relate to academic achievement in years?
I would, and that's getting the educators more involved, the ones that are higher level. Because, I mean, that takes a lot. That takes a lot. So I would love to be able to track the achievement and even the achievement of the kids who have participated. You know, hey, what businesses have come out of this program? Success stories. I mean, we already have success stories. We have, I mean, it's amazing. When we do the competition, the other thing I do is I pair them with a mentor. So once they finish, well, I can't give you all my ideas.
Yeah, and that's all the time we have for today. Thank you very much, Brian.